Let's talk about the quarter that just went by for Westlife. We had a really good Q3 and it was a really strong show. Some call it a turnaround quarter for the company. So could you just talk a little bit about the levers that really unlocked this quarter and what the key performance highlights were according to you?
Sure. So, I briefly mentioned that, our focus is to add new occasions for consumers. So I think one of the things that really worked over the last quarter is all these occasions that we've added for our consumers. So number one is our snacking platform. So our value platform is something, and value is something that's synonymous with McDonald's. So we launched a couple of campaigns where, users can come in groups, they can snack, they can have meals. The combinations that we created had a bunch of variety, both in food as well as beverages, and at the same time, very attractive price points. So users really appreciated that, consumers really appreciated that. In addition to that, we added another occasion. That's the McCafe business. So our McCafe business, like I told you, now we already have about 220 McCafes, and our McCafe business is really being appreciated by the users. So that's another kind of occasion and another lever that really worked for us and allowed us to deliver the results that we did. So that was the second one. The third one is obviously the home delivery business, which continues to grow. And with the help of obviously partners like the food aggregators, our own digital platform, consumers continue to eat at home. So that's another one that kind of continues to perform for us and is an occasion that will continue to stay relevant. So I think, these levers, along with lastly our breakfast business as well.
Let's talk about the quarter that just went by for Westlife. We had a really good Q3 and it was a really strong show. Some call it a turnaround quarter for the company. So could you just talk a little bit about the levers that really unlocked this quarter and what the key performance highlights were according to you?
Sure. So, I briefly mentioned that, our focus is to add new occasions for consumers. So I think one of the things that really worked over the last quarter is all these occasions that we've added for our consumers. So number one is our snacking platform. So our value platform is something, and value is something that's synonymous with McDonald's. So we launched a couple of campaigns where, users can come in groups, they can snack, they can have meals. The combinations that we created had a bunch of variety, both in food as well as beverages, and at the same time, very attractive price points. So users really appreciated that, consumers really appreciated that. In addition to that, we added another occasion. That's the McCafe business. So our McCafe business, like I told you, now we already have about 220 McCafes, and our McCafe business is really being appreciated by the users. So that's another kind of occasion and another lever that really worked for us and allowed us to deliver the results that we did. So that was the second one. The third one is obviously the home delivery business, which continues to grow. And with the help of obviously partners like the food aggregators, our own digital platform, consumers continue to eat at home. So that's another one that kind of continues to perform for us and is an occasion that will continue to stay relevant. So I think, these levers, along with lastly our breakfast business as well, users in the morning day part have really appreciated it. So these levers are what we call kind of our sales levers and our occasion levers, and hence users are coming back to McDonald's, frequency is improving, we're acquiring new users, and as you saw, the results in Q3 were kind of demonstrable of the fact that users are coming back for new occasions.
The economy has currently been slowing. If you look at our GDP, it's really come off from its historical highs and the growth rate seems to have slowed. Now, in a time like this, for Westlife Development to be making a 52-week high or really showing this kind of performance, I think is a testament to the runway that lies ahead. So if you could just talk to us a little bit about, I know when we were talking earlier, you spoke about, the average unit volume in a country like Australia, let's say, versus India, where people eat out a lot more than here. So could you just, to paint an opportunity size for our viewers, could you talk about how something like that changing will really propel this company to the next level, or what it can do to the valuation if you draw a comparison?
Sure. So, I mean, like you rightly said, average unit volume in India still remains to be a challenge, but the opportunity is very vast. So if you see the Indian eat-out market, it's around $100 billion. Western fast food is only 2 to 3% of that. So very small market for Western fast food because, again, it's a foreign food form. Indians are very comfortable with kind of familiar food forms, and it's a habit that we have to create. We've been doing it for the last 20 years, and we've been very successful in doing that. But as you can see, there's huge runway for growth moving forward. Like you rightly mentioned, in many other countries where the brand is very developed and has been around for a little longer, average unit volume is kind of higher and it is kind of stronger. However, in India, with all the strategies that we have in place, a lot of the localization that we've done, consumers are really loving the propositions that we have at Westlife. So we're very confident that our average unit volume, basis the opportunity, will only continue to grow. So basis that, I mean, we have all these levers in place. We're confident of this 15 to 20% sales growth that we've projected out, and we're well on the path to achieving that.
Now, one burning question that everyone really wants to know. So the SSG at McDonald's this quarter really showed a significant uptick, and it seems to be inching upwards. Now, if you just look at the way you're adding outlets, we want to understand the economics behind the payback period of an outlet. So let's say, for example, we spoke earlier about Jubilant, how theirs was roughly around 8 months and a 35% ROCE. So if you could just tell us, firstly, are you adding more stores today historically than you were before? If so, why? And if not, how has the kind of payback period per store or the break-even period per store evolved, let's say, in the last 3 to 4 years?
Sure. So I think consistently over the last 7 to 10 years, we've been adding a consistent number of 25 to 30 restaurants a year. So like I mentioned, we believe in a very targeted, focused approach, and we continue to do what's relevant for the company as well as the brand. So we've never overexpanded, nor have we underexpanded. We don't shut down restaurants really, and we continue to open in more and more markets. We continue to densely populate the current markets that we're in. So the reason why we've been able to do this, obviously, is the average unit volume in our restaurants has increased substantially despite adding new outlets every year. It's through a lot of the sales levers that I've already discussed and the operating leverage that comes in. Secondly, we've done something that we're very passionate about, which is called ROP 2.0, and that actually involves two things. One is obviously bringing down the capex versus what we traditionally used to spend in terms of setting up a McDonald's. So despite opening a format like this one, which involves incremental capex with a McCafe, as well as all these added features that we put into the restaurant, we're able to kind of ensure that our capex is lower, if not the same as what it was earlier. And in addition to that, we've also kind of increased average unit volume. Secondly, we've also implemented a lot of operational processes and efficiency processes which have brought down operating line item costs, as you'll see in our results as well as in our P&L. So these two put together allows us to continue to open restaurants at the pace we are. Our payback periods are fairly attractive for the kind of capex that we put in. So we see payback typically within a 12 to 15 month period, which means we break even fairly fast, and it's far better than what we were doing earlier, despite us having a pretty significant capex, versus what's out there in the market.
And also let's just talk about the Westlife vision for 2022. You've put out a very loud vision statement which calls out revenue targets, margin targets, and really shows where Westlife is going to be as a company, and obviously that will translate into a certain valuation on the exchanges. So if you could just talk to us a little bit about what the ethos is there, and how you really plan on achieving these targets, and what really needs to happen in order for you to achieve those targets.
Sure. So like I said, we do our planning processes in a very detailed manner, and we think far out, which is why we were able to put out our Vision 2022 statement. As you've seen in our numbers, we're kind of on the path to achieve those numbers, and a lot of it, like I said, comes through the sales levers that we have. Adding new occasions for users. I keep repeating that because that is one of the main levers that McDonald's uses globally, and is one of the main reasons why we're so confident that this 15 to 25% sales growth is something that we can deliver for the market. In addition to that, obviously, as average unit volume increases, we have a lot of operating leverage, whether it be our buying power, whether it be our real estate choices and the rentals that we pay, as well as a lot of the other fixed costs that we have. As average unit volume increases through these new occasions, the flow through kind of is something that we're very confident about. This is the global McDonald's model, and hence we put out those margin targets that we did. In addition to that, obviously, as you've seen, new store addition that we kind of committed in the Vision 2022 statement, we continue to open 25 to 30 restaurants year on year, and we're again well on the path to achieve the number that we set out over there. And lastly, something that we're really passionate about, and we specifically called out in our Vision 22 statement, is the EOTF, or the Experience of the Future format that we're rolling out. So that's also another example of how McDonald's has leveraged technology to kind of be relevant to consumers. So as you see in the current restaurant that we're in, we have digital menu boards, we have wireless charging, we have a very modern looking McCafe, we have the kiosks, which consumers have really appreciated. So all of this put together kind of is this new format that we're rolling out. Again, it's incremental capex, however, consumers are loving it, And as Westlife, we always put consumers in the forefront, and our goal is to have this in over 100 restaurants by 2022. We're already kind of well on the path to achieve and beat that number. So I think that all these things that we put out in that Vision 2022 statement are real factors of growth for Westlife, and we're very committed to them.